If I showed you a capacity test, you would think both of these batteries are fine. I tested the Vatrer and the Dyness battery side by side for over a week. One can recover from a cell drift fast enough to behave normally over time. In this video, I'll show you how well the cells are matched, what the BMS is actually doing, and the simple imbalance test of 0.5 amp hours to see how the BMS handles it. I've had both of these batteries for about a year, but I noticed the Dyness battery cells were drifting apart, so I investigated the situation. I charged each individual cell to 3.65 volts, and then I did a 0.2 C capacity tester per cell using my tester. It took about 5 hours per cell, and these are the results for the Vatrer battery. We can see that the spread is about half an amp hour. That's very good cell matching even after a year. And these are the results for the Dyness. The spread is about 0.69 amp hours, and that's still within an acceptable range of 1% after a few years. So if the matching of the cells in both batteries are good, what's the issue here? Let's go to the whiteboard. Every cell has slightly different characteristics: internal resistance, self-discharge, and tiny differences in efficiency and temperature differences. Over time, that can create cell drift. That's normal. It's impossible to have identical cells. Here we have 4 batteries connected in series for 12-volt battery pack. Let's say these cells complete a capacity test of 105 amp hours each. And the last one is 103 amp hours. If we do a capacity test, this battery will still pull a combined 103 amp hours. So nothing is wrong, right? Here's the problem. Cell 4 will hit the high voltage cutoff first. The purpose of a BMS is to keep the weak cell, in this case cell 4, performing the best it can. It does this by bleeding off energy when it's about to hit a high voltage. The other 3 might not have reached the 103 amp hours of capacity, so the balancer lowers the state of charge of cell 4 so the other cells can catch up. Even though the cell matching of the Dyness battery was good, I saw a recurring problem. After charging and discharging the battery several times at high C rates, one battery cell had a higher voltage than the others, and normally the BMS should have corrected this imbalance. Both batteries use passive balancing. The BMS bleeds the high cells through resistors, which will create heat. On the Vatrer BMS, there are 4 resistors in parallel. Each resistor is 62 ohms, and it makes for an equivalent of 15.5 ohms. If we calculate it, we get a balancing current of 220 milliamps. The Dyness only has a 101 ohm resistor per cell, and if we calculate that balancing current at the starting voltage, we get 35 milliamps. And the datasheet confirms this. So the Vatrer has roughly 6 times the balancing current than the Dyness. However, more balancing equals more heat. On the Vatrer BMS, the resistor area hit 60 degrees Celsius while balancing. That's normal for bleed resistors. The Dyness battery ran cooler at 30 degrees Celsius. Lower balancing current isn't automatically bad. The question is, can it keep up in real-world conditions? So I created a test that mimics real drift. For example, you haven't charged your battery to 100% in a while. I created the same imbalance in both of these batteries. I charged all the cells to 3.65 volts and connected my capacity tester to one cell and discharge it with 0.5 amp hours. Then I let the packs recover using their own BMS. Balancing only happens above a balance start voltage. For the Vatrer, this is programmed at 3.3 volts per cell, which is quite early. And for the Dyness, this is set to 3.525 volts, which is very late in the charge cycle. In my opinion, I think 3.4 volts is ideal. And this is how I conducted the tests. I charged the battery until high voltage cutoff. I let it rest so the balancing can work. And when the cell voltage drops under the balance start voltage, I charge it again. And then repeat the whole process until the imbalance disappeared. And here are the results. The Vatrer recovered after 3 of these cycles, and the Dyness recovered after 12 of these cycles. And that makes sense. The Dyness battery only balances above 3.525 volts per cell, and it only bleeds 35 milliamps. So in normal solar power situations, it's simply not enough time and speed to catch up. So when the balancing window is small and the current is small as well, the battery struggles to top balance. When I was making this video, Will Prowse just showed his new cycling machine. I'll be curious if he can reproduce this experiment using his new equipment. That'll be interesting to see. Here's a practical thing you can take away from this video. A healthy charge curve looks like this. The voltage rises slowly to 14.2 volts and the current tapers down. And when you have a situation like this, where the current goes down immediately and the voltage doesn't reach 14.2 volts, that means you have a high voltage cutoff. So the BMS has detected a cell over voltage and cut off the charging current immediately, which you can see right here. So what can you do if this happens to you? First, increase absorption time, which gives more time for the balancer to work. Secondly, charge at a lower current near the top, so you don't hit the overvoltage protection. And lastly, repeat the charge and rest cycle frequently to let it top balance, just like I did in my experiment. Another lesser known problem is that a hard cutoff from the high charging current to zero immediately will trigger a high voltage. This spike can cause the inverter to trip or even damage it. My recommendation is to look at how your battery behaves when it's nearly full. If the current drops from max amps to zero immediately, you have an imbalance issue. Let me know what you think about this video in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.